Make no mistake, these Kansas City Chiefs are in a fight for the AFC West and to keep this season on track. Let's talk about what they have to do up in Mexico City against the Chargers in this week's game plan. Welcome back to RGR Football. I'm Ryan. This is me going rogue on the Kansas City Chiefs and the NFL. Big game this week. I'm going to do things a little bit differently in this video. I'm going to cut some segments in here because there's a lot of aspects. So I want to cover a couple of key things about the team, about this week, and then I'm going to give you some film preview of Melvin Gordon and the Chargers, what they're going to see Monday night. If you're new around here, click the notification bell so that you get notified when something new goes up. Leave your comment below, and if you like this video, leave that thumbs up. Now, I know this has been a tough week for everybody. The Chiefs missed a golden opportunity last week to play up to their potential, to play some run defense and get a win against those Titans. And that's a game that's going to have some impact going forward because no matter what, even though the Chargers want to throw the ball and Phillip Rivers likes to throw the ball, they understand that the weakness of this team is running on them. You're going to see Melvin Gordon a ton. He's gaining momentum. And every team from here on out, even if the Chiefs were to bow up and play well again like they did against the Vikings and the Packers, they're still going to get a ton of run because the teams around the league have the film that shows that they're susceptible. And even if they play well for a week, they're still going to have that up and down. They've proven that at this point. So expect teams to want to run on them the rest of the season. It's not going to go away. But that's not the only missed opportunity that they have. They've done a couple of things that really, I think, are missteps in preparing to try and drive this season home, especially right now when you have a bye week coming up after this game in Mexico City. From all intents and purposes, Mexico City looks okay. Heard from a couple of sources, not just Clark Hunt, that the field looks much better than it did last season when it looked like this, which was just unplayable. Puts player safety at risk. You just couldn't do it. And that's a significant thing. The NFL does not do that very often. This year it seems to be okay. But the preparation for that game is the same as last season. I told you that as a physiologist, teams adapt, players adapt, especially high-caliber athletes adapt. Now, the team says they've done their research and they elected not to come practice at altitude anywhere in the U.S. Where they have plenty of opportunity because they feel that the research showed them that they are going to make that decision to stay home because of the benefits probably of being better rested, being at home, etc. But there is evidence that even though full acclimation takes 6 to 8 days for an average person, athletes acclimate faster. And being at altitude, even if you spur your system to adapt a little bit and then return, you can still get some benefits out of that. You still get somewhere between a 40 and a 60% bump. So deciding to stay at home and not practice at altitude, whether be in Colorado Springs like I suggested last year, which the Chargers are actually doing, they're training at the Air Force Academy, or at New Mexico State, or a number of other places around the country that are high enough altitude that you can get a similar bump as to what you'll see the conditions in Mexico City. Chiefs elected not to, and that's their decision. I think it's a mistake. I would have moved the team in order to do what the Chargers are doing, even though the Chargers players don't seem to dig it. That's a conclusion that you can't base your team on. Another thing is they had an opportunity to pick up a player this week with a lot of talent. They decided not to put in a claim for Vernon Hargreaves, and I can understand where a lot of you feel it wasn't worth the effort because of what his output in Tampa Bay was. But I have to put this caveat out. If the team is able to lock down their run defense, and they are able to improve, they're going to have to do that by really doing what I've said this whole season, playing more base, playing three linebackers more. And what does that do? The counterpunch to that is if they do stop the run better, is that teams will use play action to try to go over the top, especially when you have the linebackers on the field. So that stresses the talent level in your secondary at that point. And your counterpunch has to be to grow your talent as best you can. Now, I wasn't big on Hargreaves coming out because of the effort, because of his attitude, and I completely understand not wanting to look into him because of those reasons. But a new town, a new coaching staff sometimes can get squeezing more out of a player than you've seen in the past. And this is the simple fact. Hargraves has talent that goes beyond some of the players the Chiefs have had to play lately. So it's a missed opportunity in my book where they could have gotten more talent into that secondary, where if things go well, they're going to be stressing further down in the season. That said, when you look at the game plan for this week, I'm not going to go through a bunch of points. Play better, play more aggressive, play run defense, play like a team that wants to win. Don't have plays where you have 10 players on the field. Don't have plays where you're taking them off. We've seen too much of that. Have to improve all the way around. Just be better football players. Tackle better, play more aggressive, and play your assignments. Specifically, this team has to bow up again and get back to what they did defending the run against the Packers and the Vikings. I expect them to do that. I think it's kind of a slap in the face for what happened last week, and I think the coaching staff will see that. I expect Pennell to play. I expect Saunders and Ragland to get more snaps. I expect them to be prepared for what Melvin Gordon is going to bring to the table, and that's clearly got to be the game plan for what the Chargers want to do. That said, last season we saw them get beat up in the pass game against these Chargers. Keenan Allen's still available. I know it's week 11. Something miracle-wise has happened for him to still be on the field, but the Chiefs do have to play him. And they do have some matchup problems there. We're going to see them attack. We'll see what Ward can do against some of their bigger receivers. That was a problem last season. Don't know if Fuller's going to play yet. That was a problem last season. So there are some balance issues there. If they do stack up against the run, again, they're going to have to stress that secondary. So I want to see exactly how they go about that. I expect mixed coverages. I expect them to get back to trying to disguise what they're doing in the secondary better, rather than just playing robber or cover two and shifting between them. You might see some more of those D-backs diving back for the deeper zones. I'd like to see them really mix it up and play some cover 6, play some cover 3, and drop 3 deep. Make Rivers earn some things that he doesn't always have to do. That's going to be important. So, that said, let's take a look at a little bit of film. This is a look at one way that the Chargers are going to use Melvin Gordon to attack the Chiefs. And this is a very similar front that the Raiders are running here that the Chiefs like to run. And that is the 4-man line backed up by 2 linebackers. And this is 5 DBs in a nickel. This happens to be Worley. If he's going to play a role here, so keep an eye on him. What the Chargers are going to do is run a little bit of motion, bring their guy down, which will reduce Worley. And they're trying to get the edge there. He actually does a pretty good job on this play. And the point is that even though it looks like initially they may have gotten enough in terms of width to slow down Melvin Gordon, as well as the initial play by the front 4 that we'll look in the other view, Gordon is to the point now where he's warmed up. He's through his season, and he is ready to roll. He's offset to the opposite side, so you're going to see this kind of delayed handoff as everybody is going to either pin their man or get out and move, looking to basically wall off and just run him right off of the tackle's butt as these 2 guys come through. And as we roll this forward, you'll see the motion come through and do what it does. And right here, tackles are coming off, a little bit of bump on the end, but you don't need a lot on him because this guard is coming through and is going to obliterate him outside, trying to run through. And you're going to see that the tackle initially took his step, made a little bump, and now he's trying to get to the DB. Doesn't realize what's going on yet, but he's about to realize and come downhill pretty hard, making a fairly nice play and almost get there. As the tight end misses his block, he forces him back inside. That's the thing. Gordon can cut on a dime, and he looks none the worse to wear for his injury to his knee. Right here, again, forcing by Joseph, some backfield. We'll look at that in a second. Gordon cuts and is straight upfield, and this is what the Chiefs have to do. This is about gap discipline, understanding where you're supposed to be, because that's the kind of thing that this running back can do. And when we flip it over, it's going to become apparent exactly what the front needs to do, because there's a key component here as well. And this is what the Chiefs can do to fix some of this. Not only do the linebackers have to play well, this linebacker is signaling right now, and as the motion comes across, you're going to see Joseph come down inside and do what he does well, and that's play in the box. Now, as the play begins, 2 players are going to do a pretty good job in trying to set the edge out here
defeating this little brush, and then he tries to take on and actually goes low on this guard's block, and that actually works okay for him. This off guard is trying to reach the other tackle, and that's where the play starts to break down. He actually gets penetration. This is something that one player in particular has shown a real adaptation for this season. That's Tano Passanio. Tano's been getting a lot of good penetration so far this season, so I want to see him try to shoot these gaps if they're going to get this kind of look, because you see what it does is he defeats the block, nearly makes the tackle in the backfield, and I think if that's Tano Passanio, there's probably a much higher likelihood that that happens. Again, this is going to be a reach over to this shaded one tackle, which might be Saunders, might be Nadi, might be Tano. And as they come through, nearly gets him. The edge is set here. You have two wash blocks coming down, and he's going to turn straight up and be gone. This is what the Chiefs have to look for. This is another instance of a play that I want to show you because it's very similar to what the Chiefs have been trying to do and failing at lately. And this is the Chargers going against the Green Bay Packers. This is old Hunter Henry here in line as a tight end. 3 to the top of the wide receivers, and this is Keenan Allen. He's going to come in motion here eventually, but the key is that they are playing against a 4-2 nickel, just like the Chiefs try to do, and the result is something the Chiefs don't want to see. As we roll forward here, we're going to see that the motion actually causes the defense to shift, and what we've got already is that, much like the Chiefs do, you've got one linebacker that lines up almost in the middle, and one of the safeties ends up being the guy that is in the box here, and that's the problem. The safety and that linebacker shifted over caused problems. Now, the blitz was called on, and that's great. What Gordon does is accelerate through it and makes a nice leap here. It shows just how explosive and athletic he is, but the guy that made this block is going to be back in this particular view because it's all about where Blake Martinez ends up. And this is the Anthony Hitchens in this particular defense. And as the motion comes through, you're going to see that it's going to pull everybody to the left, including Martinez. And this is the problem right here, because as they start, Martinez is already inside. The play's going to go back to the backside. They're going to come off and they're going to get him over pursuing, much like we've seen out of the Chiefs, and getting himself caught on the backside of a block that Gordon cuts behind. As we roll forward here, we see the tackle seals to the outside, getting a little combo here with the guard, and the guard's going to just be able to get on the play side of Martinez as Gordon cuts it back to the weak side. And boom, he's gone. This is very similar to what they're going to do against the Chiefs. Should the Chiefs give them that same look, that's what they have to avoid.
So the run game is going to be a concern. I think we all know that. I think the team knows it, and I expect them to make the adjustments in playing the correct players more. That said, how do you feel about it? Do you think there's an advantage in the altitude practicing? Do you think there's an advantage in the run game? Where do you think that the Chargers are going to put up the most fight, and what do you think is going to happen? I'm going to give my prediction on the Locked On Chiefs podcast that will be up on Monday morning, so check that out. Let you guys know that we'll do the Q&A, I think, on Tuesday night this time. I'll try to do a post-game following Monday Night Football. I know it's going to be late, but I'll try to give you that too. So I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. I appreciate you guys checking it out, and check these videos that you may have missed. I appreciate you watching today, and I'll talk to you next time.